Well, I had the opportunity to see Scott's little video before this, so I was able to go ferreting through and find a couple of things that I did in that age range. What I've noticed about what I've found here is that, as you'll see, this is beautifully. Do you see how I mactac that? Does anyone remember mactac? Yes, I'm a child of the 70s. Well bound together with string and so on. But what I noticed about a lot of my stories is that I never finished them. I would get to a certain place and then they weren't fit. They don't seem to be marked. They're not finished. I don't know why. Which of course started me thinking about how I have desk drawers full of unfinished scripts and novel ideas and show ideas now. So I wonder whether that's my fault or whether maybe it's the teacher's fault for never letting me finish my stories. But they're pretty good. I was sort of impressed with myself as I went through, and I was in French immersion. I even did these things in French. See? And reading through them, I thought, you know, that's pretty innovative for a kid of however old I was here, I guess 7, 8 maybe, you know, even with the pictures. And I don't call myself an illustrator or an artist. I mean, I'm an artist, but not a visual artist. But look, pretty good. I don't even know if I could do that well now. I remember once I got a gold star, a double gold star actually. Well, it was a gold star with a red star underneath it. I don't want to outdo Scott or anything, but it was a double star. And I didn't necessarily generally get double stars. My best friend in grade school, she got double stars all the time. But I wrote a story called Le Poulet Caoutchouc, which is the rubber chicken. Now, that probably says a lot about me now too. But I got a double star on it, and I don't remember it. I wish I could find it. I haven't been able to find it, but I wish I could find it because I think it was a very funny story. I remember the teacher thinking it was hilarious, and I obviously got a double star, so it must have been pretty good. I think if those outlets aren't there when you're a child, I guess there's no real reason to expect that you will push forward in that line, in the sort of an artist's line or in a creative way as you get older. I'm sure they do. I mean, it must. It allows you to bring something individual and that's completely yours out of you and put it in front, whether it be through story or through, you know, performing. Even as a kid, you know, performing puppet shows, writing and performing puppet shows, which we did for friends and so on. And not having any children of my own, I don't know whether kids still do that or not. I hope they do, but I think for sure that if you did that as a child or you were encouraged to do that as a child, it's something that you will consider growing up and want to continue with, I think. I think the creative writing part of elementary school probably was at least for me, was the fun part of school, right? You got to draw and make up stories, and maybe that was torture for kids who were more leaning towards maths and sciences. Maybe if you got a scientist up here and to talk about writing stories when they were kids, they would feel tortured by it. But I do still think that it would have shaped who they are now. I would love to see you interview someone who is not in the arts per se, and have them go back and see if they can find stories that they've written and how they felt about that. For me, I definitely think it's not something that was pushed by any means, but any time that I did have to do something like that, it shaped me, for sure. Madame Missac, Madame Colbert, that was 3 and 4, and then 5 was Madame Hull, and they were all wonderful, wonderful women, and certainly, and Madame Pouli, who was actually, strangely enough, my English teacher, but she used to tell us stories through song and the guitar, and yeah, they were very creative people, and I think they definitely, when they saw a spark, and I'm sure didn't matter where the spark was, but when they saw a spark in a child, something that they really enjoyed doing, they definitely helped that be flourished. I felt very nurtured in elementary school in that way. I think it's extremely important for this to be developed for kids in school, that they develop these kind of skills in school. Especially now, it's a bit of a shame. I hear about the fact that you don't have to take physical education in elementary school. It's not a required element anymore. I don't know what other sort of things have been cut from the curriculum, but I would imagine that arts and physical activity will always be the first to be booted, which is an unbelievable shame. And I think it's hugely important. It doesn't matter what a child is going to be when they grow up, to develop storytelling skills, the ability to use your imagination, because if you can use your imagination, you can theorize in the sciences. If you can use your imagination, you can be an excellent teacher and find different ways for teaching children by sort of assessing who they are and then finding a new way to teach them what there is to be done. I think without storytelling skills and teachers pushing kids, not pushing children, but encouraging children to use their imagination, you end up with sort of robotic type education where it's just memorize and regurgitate, memorize and regurgitate. And as I got into secondary school, although I went to an arts high school, I found that was more and more the case in the histories and the maths and the sciences, and even in literature to a certain extent. It's just memorize this, get it all out as fast as possible, and then it's gone from your brain anyway. Whereas when you're doing something creative, it's coming from within you, and there's no wrong answer there. And I think that's a very, very important skill, to know that nothing that you do is wrong when it comes from inside you. And so, yeah, hugely important. I don't even know if that answered your question.
I don't remember the question.
Excellent.